John needs to leave.
I gotta go. I'll get one of all.
We're all good?
Where's Fred? All right, thank you.
He's in that survivor thing.
Yeah.
He told us one more time.
I heard he got voted out.
I didn't hear anything.
That's what I heard.
Watch that kind of stuff.
What?
Maybe he has to play
He
the
got
game.
voted out?
I don't know.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday, September 5th, City Council meeting. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Alderman Santi,
Here.
Alderman Gleb,
Here.
Alderman McClatchy, absent Alderwoman Bassey,
Here.
Alderman Strack,
Here.
Alderman Cook,
Here.
Alderwoman Miller, here.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda this evening. Bridget, would you like to come up and, if you could hit the center button. There you go. Floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Bridget Barong, tenant at Hickory Creek Farms, doing business as our Double J Ranch. I just want to first and foremost say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. The roof, if you guys haven't been over there to look at it, being done is amazing. Working with K&M Construction has been a pleasure so far. They're taking our accommodations with our hay being up in the loft already and stuff like that into consideration by tarping it and all that with our requests. Tonight, I wanted to come before you guys as the City Council and ask of a request. At the last month's meeting, at the very end of a long meeting, there was a comment made and brought up about the barn just being a boarding facility for the last 30 years and not being open to the public. I wanted to come before you guys and let you know that that's not my intention. Never has been, never was. The gentleman that was your tenant prior, yes, ran it as a boarding facility. He did not allow public to come there. I, along with my team, my dream team, I'll introduce them in a little bit, have opened it up not once, but twice to the public. The first time I opened it up was October of 2022, where we had a Meet the Breeds. That was the first time in 30 years that people of the public, our community, stepped foot onto that property. I have to take in consideration, being a business owner, the safety and security of not only the animals, but of that building and how well maintained it is, or was. The second time I opened it up was our first anniversary party, Kentucky Derby style. I stood up here and I invited all of you guys. We had a blast. We had people come, we had laughter, we had children smiling, petting horses, seeing things that they don't ever really get to see. Having the city own a barn is amazing. Having somebody like myself and my dream team running it for you guys that is not part of the city, that just makes it even more special because I'm actually crazy enough to do it. So with that being said, I just want you guys to understand of opening it up to the public, it's going to take me some time. First was the roof. Second is making sure that it's safety and secure to have public come in. When you deal with the public, it's a little bit different breed than horse enthusiasts, number one. Number two, we're having birthday parties there. We're having, I have our first school field trip set up for November. I'm planning on doing a ribbon cutting ceremony with the chamber. We've had summer camps. We've had lessons going out of our barn. The previous tenant never ran that. It's going to take me time. And that's all I ask, is that you guys give me time. You guys have done nothing but support us now with the roof being done. Bill and Pat and their crew have been great, allowing us to use things that the city can provide us with, so it's not coming out of my own personal pocket, for picnic tables or trash cans or anything like that. I'm cleaning up the previous tenant's mess. It's going to take time. So with that being said, I want to introduce you to my dream team. We have one of the most amazing instructors. I don't know if you guys know her. Her name is Fran Lambert. Fran Lambert is just an incredible soul. She's also like Elvis when she walks into our building. She is not only a wonderful rider herself, but she is an 8-time national and world champion reiner. She can ride her horse bridleless, and that's just amazing. Then we have Kim. She's like my right-hand woman around the barn. And then we also have Miss Denise DeSico. And there's many more. My husband's out doing hay right now because we can't put it up in the loft because of the roof being done. So we're putting it in the Peterson Park barn right now. So we have some younger high schoolers over there. We've had volunteers coming in to help us muck stalls. Just the look on people's faces coming out there. I had a dad that lost his wife at the age of 40 to breast cancer come out there with his daughter that went into 8th grade this year. And the look on his face when he saw horses out in the pasture, he didn't even have to touch them. It was just melted off of him. The stress, the anxiety, everything. I encourage you guys and invite you guys to give me a call. I would love to guys give you a tour of the barn and what my intention and my passion is about that place. It's a historically unique facility. And please, I just want you guys to know that it's going to take time. But yes, I am opening it up to the public. Thank you.
By the way, I did a tour a couple weeks back, and it's definitely getting cleaned up. I think Bill can definitely attest to that as well. So Bridget, your team, and all the volunteers are doing a great job. So thank you.
I'm Denise DeSico.
Can you hit the middle button? Sorry.
Sorry. I'm Denise DeSico. I was past president of Spring Grove Horse Show for 12 years, vice president for 2 years. I was an animal investigator for Haas for 2 years. I've owned a horse most of my life. I boarded at the facility before Bridget took over. I left for a few years, and then when I heard Bridget had it, I came running back. I can just tell you that the gentleman that ran it before was a good horseman, an excellent horseman, but he took good care of the horses. He really didn't do too much for the property itself, and we could gradually see the decline. Some of us asked to paint our own stalls and do things like that, but it was frowned upon. So to have Bridget there leading the charge and getting the building back to the beautiful shape that it was in, and I was in that building when I was 11 years old. The man that owned it was Mr. Mass. He was raising quarter horses. He was also involved in politics, and he had a big party, and my dad happened to be the drummer for the band that was there. And being horse crazy since the day I was born, my dad brought me with. The barn was gorgeous at that point. The horses were gorgeous. One of the founding sires for AQHA Stallions was from that barn. So it has a lot of history. And what I have in my hand is an economic impact study of the horse industry in Illinois. This study was from 2017. There is a new study that's being done this year, and they're compiling the information. I'll give you a copy, Mayor Jett.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wants one,
We'll make copies in hand and get it out.
Oh, okay. A lot of people don't know how many horses are in McHenry County. At one point, probably 5 years ago, McHenry County had the most horses per capita of any county in the United States, which is a stat that's almost unbelievable. I can tell you from my perspective, the reason that I became president of Spring Grove Horse Show was to keep it going for the kids It's not a premier show facility like a lot of the ones are now, Fields and Fences and the one they built in Woodstock. But the little kids that come and start, there's no intimidation, there's no stress. And that's what I did with Spring Grove Horse Show. It's still going on. The village was very cooperative, but they wanted to turn it into a skate park. And a lawyer friend of mine was working with us and discovered that as long as we continue to have horse shows, the property will be used for that. And that's what Bridget is trying to accomplish here. At the first event she had, I had my horse in the stall. Kids stopped by that had never even seen or touched a horse in real life. Fathers and mothers held their babies and they would reach out and just stroke my horse's head. I was almost in tears. It was just so rewarding. But thank you for everything you've done for the barn. And like Bridget said, there's more to be done and more fun to be had. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment at this time? No others? All right. Thank you again. Appreciate all you're doing. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, items 5A through 5K. Is there any council members wanting to pull any items for separate consideration? See none, I'm looking for a motion to approve 5A through 5K. Alderwoman Miller?
I'll make that motion to approve 5A through 5K, please.
Thank you. Alderman Santi?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion on any of these items? Alderman Santi, go ahead.
Just a quick question for, I believe it would be for Public Works on 5F. The numbers, it was two different bids in there, two different numbers. Explain, I guess one of them is with multiple municipalities. Is that what's happening, Steve?
Yeah, that's correct. One of them was a joint bid with other municipalities, which we've done in the past. The second one we had to go on our own because it's all on Route 120. So with permitting with IDOT and the requirement for traffic control there changes the way it would have to be done, and the pricing obviously would be different. So we went on our own with that one just because of the requirements of IDOT.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments by council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bassi?
Yes.
Alderman Strack?
Yes.
Alderman Cook?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6A, is a sign variance at 1850 North Richmond Road at the new Panera. I am looking for a motion to grant a sign variance for the new Panera located at 1850 North Richmond Road to allow 2 additional wall signs not to exceed 46.5 square feet and 1 additional menu board not to exceed 12 square feet in area. Director Palarecki, want to go ahead and present this?
Thanks, you pretty much
did
just
it,
did.
but,
I will just give an update. We did do some final inspections on the Panera building today. They applied for their sign permits. They got everything that they could that fell within our ordinance. So this is above and beyond. That's why you do see signs up on the building right now already, because those are allowed. This is what is above and beyond what was allowed, so they're applying for the variance for that. So staff is also looking into menu boards right now, because with the Starbucks and all these restaurants that we see coming forward, we're seeing where menu boards there's more of them in the drive-through lanes, and they're bigger than what our ordinance currently allows for, and we're seeing that other communities are allowing for more as well. So they'll probably see a text amendment come before you just to adjust that, so we're not bringing all these variances back to council. So other than that, if there's any questions, I'm here.
Thanks, Ross. I'm looking for a motion to approve 6A. Alderman Strack?
Motion as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Miller?
I'll second the motion as presented.
Thank you. Discussion on this item by City Council? Alderman Miller?
I agree that the menu boards are huge. I mean, you pull into a Starbucks or a Panera, and the drive-up menu, they're trying to reproduce their inside 25-foot menu board into 4 feet, and you can't read the thing. McDonald's has it right. They do the revolving menu boards where they have the breakfast board and then the lunch board, but I can't imagine like a Panera and a Starbucks is going to do that because it's a fixed window. So thank you for being understanding that they're trying to do a great service to the drive-through particularly.
Any other questions, comments? Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? See none, clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Strack,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Cook,
Yes.
Alderwoman Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Glab,
Yes.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is a discussion item. 7A is a lead service presentation. Operations Manager Steve Ward, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a brief presentation on the lead water service program that's been mandated, by the EPA, for us to replace the lead services in town. This slide just kind of gives you an idea of what a water service is, from the main to the shut-off valve, generally right on the property line, and then the service going to the meter. Generally speaking, the utility owns the side before the property line, and afterwards, the property owner is responsible for the service after that. Lead was common, very common up until about the 1960s. It was banned in 1986 from use. It dates all the way back to, the days of the Romans. They used it because it was pliable, resistant to corrosion, and it was very leak resistant, and it was the best material they had at the time, even though obviously it was dangerous. Why is lead bad? Studies show that, it decreases IQ, and especially in children and pregnant women. So they determine there's no safe level of exposure, period. So that's why we're starting to move down the road of replacing everything. So in January 2022, they mandated no more partial replacements. Everything's got to be replaced all the way from the main inside the house. So if it leaks now, we have 30 days to replace it. The one thing that we have been doing since 1991, I believe it is lead copper samples. Actually, we just finished up our routine right now. We've been adding phosphates since the early 90s as a protective coating to keep the lead, and ever since we've done very well. We've been in the 90th percentile every time with our lead samples. Where we stand today in our survey is we actually have 312 lead services that will need to be replaced by 2042. We have to start in 2027. We did it in-house. We did our own survey. We went door to door to the houses that we believe had a possibility of being lead services, and we currently have our report pretty much squared away for our final report this April. So this is kind of the timeline. We had initial inventory that had to be done last April. Our complete inventory has to be done this April, and then we have to give annual updates till 2027. And at that point in time, we have to begin our replacement program. Due to the fact of how many service lines we have 15 years once we start to complete it. So roughly, it'll be 20 a year or so. And here's the big part: how are we going to pay for it? I'd say a good estimate, average, is probably maybe about $10,000 for each service that we got to replace. So we're looking at having to spend about $220,000 a year for 15 years to complete this. There are some programs that are being engineered around the books for us to do possibly before 2027 that will eliminate some of these services. A lot of them are in the old part of town, or they're all in the old part of town, but Riverside Drive, the streetscape, we're talking about replacing the water main and all the services there. That would eliminate probably 12 or 14 of them. Don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. There's a few when we widen Route 31 that'll get eliminated. And the other thing that we've talked about is, the base fee, water maintenance program. And there is a bond on the books now that's supposed to come off in 2030. So then maybe something to look to adjust at that time. So our next steps are our final report due. In between now and then, we need to make a decision and come up with a plan exactly how we want to do this and how we want to pay for it. In the meantime, anything that falls, that ends up leaking prior to that, we will have to replace. We've had 3 so far, and, we've gone in, we fixed them, and then we've brought in a plumber to replace the private side into the house. That's kind of it in a nutshell. If you have any questions.
Council? Alderman Miller?
So staff is doing the replacement with the exception of the valve in the house where we're using a plumber?
The 3 that we've done, 2 of them, we did our side, and then we had a plumber come in and replace it on the private side.
Our side meaning? to the
Our
property-
side meaning from the main to the B box.
To the property line?
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Alderman Glad?
Yeah, so what you're saying is the homeowner had to pay for the plumber.
No, we paid for it.
We paid for it.
We did.
So we paid for everything all the way
All the way to the
into
meter.
the house,
Yes, we did.
even though it's technically supposed to be the homeowner's responsibility from the shut-off. Yeah.
Correct.
So why was that
The state's, or the EPA's kind of stance on it is, they're not concerned at who pays for it, they just want it done at this point. And, right now, there hasn't been a whole lot of grants put out there for this yet, because we're still in the phase of getting, our surveys done. So I'm anticipating seeing some of that, so obviously if we see that, we would, be applying for that. I mean, I guess we would have the option to put it on the homeowner, I just don't know how we force that at this point.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the fact that if we're gonna pay for the portion from the turn-off to the house, I mean, how many of these homes, just like you said, the old part of town, how much of it is in the TIF district? And why
I don't know how
wouldn't we
many
use
exactly are in TIF district,
money
I'd have to look it
to
up.
pay for this, because, basically, they've been paying, into the TIF, I mean, with their taxes, that's where, the increases, if they're in that TIF area, that's where, the money's been collected is, above the cutoff, when they first started the TIF. And, maybe it's time that we reciprocate that way to the homeowners, if they're in the TIF district, rather than taking it out of the general fund. So just kind of a, I mean, by no means am I against the fact that, I hate for somebody to come in, buy a house, and then find out 6 months later that they've got to replace, and spend whatever, what is it? If you're saying $10,000, so it's probably half, maybe $5,000 to replace that half. And, I just think, again, it's just that we look at it, that possibly that's where we generate the revenue for that, rather than just taking it out of the general fund.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Alderman Glab, point well taken. And at this point, we just wanted to bring the topic to council for an update, and let them know what the timeframes were on it and what the estimated costs were. And certainly, we want to be able to work, staff, we want to be able to work with you as this gets more imminent and we, have to start replacing these, on what the options are, whether it's maybe it's a grant program we set up with TIF funds, or, certainly we can look into using TIF for whatever funds are available to help offset the private costs for it, if we choose to enforce private costs on it. And that'll be a policy decision the council can make, down the road. So, point well made, and we'll make sure that we investigate all options and bring it back to you.
And again, more than anything else, if we don't bring up these points now, then, they're not thought of until, till the end, and then nobody really wants to start changing policies and whatnot, so.
I think our input right now is more important than any other time, so.
Thanks. Alderman Santi, go ahead.
What bond comes off the books on 2030?
The 2010 bond.
Oh,
It's the $6 debt service fee that's on the water sewer bill.
and that, it comes off the books on 2030, correct?
Right.
Okay. Just and following up on Alderman Glad, that could be a point, a place to look at in regards to, that money could be set aside, and planned upon when that hits. I know it's a few years out, but this is a long-term project, and it's always good to kind of get ahead of it and have some options that come back to the council later on. Thank you.
Alderman Miller, go ahead.
So I would think that most homeowners have no idea if they have a lead service. They're clueless until there's a problem. And then when there's a problem, they're like, oh my God, how did we not know? So there's an education component here that I hope we're taking advantage of, teaching people or even exposing the survey and where and what, just similar to McHenry Shores a long time ago that had failing septics and we needed to hook them up to sewer. So we gave them the window, we said this is your exposure, this is how long it's going to take us to get everybody on, there's a drop dead date. So wherever that funding comes from, it gives the 312 homes an opportunity to plan ahead.
And they've all been notified now that they have lead services. We notified them as we found them, we notified them that they had lead services.
And was there an education component with that?
Yes, there was a letter, and, if they had any other questions, they would call and I would talk to them about it and, give them further explanation if they needed it.
Yeah, and I think my second point is this is a great opportunity to collaborate with our local plumbers, let them know what's going on there and how to create an opportunity for them to get additional business at maybe we're really good at this is our great price. So that's my points. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Strack.
Steve, just a question. I know this is going to seem like a crazy one, but we're lining all kinds of other pipes. Are these just too small to do any lining of?
That's correct.
I just wanted to make sure that was the case. Thank you.
Alderman Cook.
Did you just tell us that you're going to come out with a plan on who has lead pipes?
We already know everyone that has one.
Do you have a map of one?
We do. I have a map, all GIS of every lead service in town. I can send it to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Alderman Glad?
Yeah, and I guess this is probably more of a legal question than anything else, but is there anything that the city can do so that as homes are being sold down the road that we require that everybody, that the seller has to divulge and let the buyer know that they have a lead service?
I believe that it's already started. There is a date where they have to disclose it once they know, when they sell the house.
So it has to be on their, all right, it's on the closing documents, but like Alderwoman Miller said, most people, they'll read that and they won't even think twice about it, there's always been lead pipes around, not really thinking about what the impact might be down the road. And then, of course, they'll be standing up at that podium when they're told that it's going to cost them $5,000.
Right.
And what's the city going to do for them? So, let's be maybe proactive rather than reactive on this, so that new buyers are realizing what they're getting themselves into. Not that it's that big of a expense. It's not like they got $40,000 or $50,000 in there, but especially if you're a new homeowner and then all of a sudden you've got this within the first year or two a $5,000 tag, that's going to hurt.
Well, so you had two questions. One was the cost. You want to pass it on so it can be handled at closing and actually take care of the problem?
Like I said, just so that the residents are notified.
Ross, can you go ahead?
So, David, the only way that I know of not doing this, and we've had these discussions before, would be a transfer stamp. which the city of McHenry does not currently have, but it would be a fee that would be paid to the city prior to the closing, so the city is aware that that house has sold. At that point, we could disclose that information. I know the realtors that are on the board are familiar with transfer stamps. It's kind of a hot topic when it's brought up, but that would be the only way that I would see, because right now we have no clue when a house sells.
No, but you could also record a notice.
We could record against the property.
Against those 300 homes. That's possible.
Right.
Some towns require illegal connection inspections before you close, similar to this, because those are dangerous to us as a city, and the service we provide. In the same reverse, I suppose we could do something like that. You have to be careful interfering with the potential sale, because the seller will not take kindly to that, and they would take a position. You don't know that these are dangerous. Like you said, we've been protecting these lines for so many years. We don't know if those water lines are actually dangerous or potentially dangerous. But we could record a factual notice against the homes that's everything in it is true, and then maybe it doesn't come down with that conclusion that this line's a problem and you need to take care of it when you buy this house. I think that would take more discussion.
So why don't we have that discussion with staff, all right? All right. Any other questions, comments regarding this item? Steve, thank you. 7B is a facade grant funding request for remainder of fiscal year 23-24.
That's
City
me.
Administrator Morphy?
Yeah, that's me. So this will be a hopefully relatively quick discussion also. So we made some adjustments to the facade grant program over the last couple of months. I think the last meeting, council, I had some further discussion on it, and we wanted to be able to bring this back without consideration of a facade grant before you, to have an opportunity to discuss what to do for the remainder of this year. So we have about $6,400, $63,750, I think, left in the program, which isn't much for the rest of this fiscal year. So we've gone through the $100,000 that we had budgeted this year. We know that there's other interest in the program to the tune of about $30,000 of requests that we have applications for. But again, we did not want to bring those before you and just say, well, approve these with an amendment or not, without a chance to have a discussion about them. So that's why we're bringing this back before you. So there's a couple of options that we presented, and maybe there's others that council wants to consider. But what you would like to do, or would like us to do in terms of direction for the facade program through the rest of the year, we can either bring them back to you on a case-by-case basis, and if they're worthy of a facade grant, then you can make a budget amendment. We can present you with a budget amendment, and if you choose to approve that facade grant, we can do a budget amendment at that time. We can do a budget amendment to the grant program now for some specific dollar amount to last us through the end of the year, although I'll just pick a number. If we say $50,000, that could be done in a month too. That could be gone in a month too if we get more requests. You could cap it and say we'll do a certain dollar amount and that's it. We're not going to consider any more through the rest of the year, and that kind of goes into the third option that we presented, and that is just say we spent our money this year. We understand that you may be interested. Sorry. Come back to us next May 1st when we have funding again, if you're still interested. Maybe there's other opportunities, but those are just, we wanted to at least bring it to council without a pending facade grant for you to vote on, so that you could consider it and maybe give us some direction on what to do with it. Thanks.
Alderman Glab? I already knew. I'm just trying to speed this up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the one that brought up the facade grant the other meeting, and I just want to thank staff, for following through right away and getting us that list for the last 2 years on the facade grants and all the economic grants that we've had. But I honestly feel that there comes a time where we say, you know what, enough's enough for this year, and we can't just keep opening up the door every time somebody wants to do something. And I've noticed on a lot of these facade grants that by the time they come to the city asking for the money, the project's done. Now they're asking for the money to be approved. And, the whole idea of the facade grant was to promote, getting, people interested in fixing up the, front of their buildings and, we don't see the plans until after it's done. We shouldn't be granting, facade grants or any other type of economic grants after the fact. Let's see what they're proposing and what they want to do, and if they want to, propose, asking for a grant, then let's see it before they get into the whole project. That's my feeling on it.
Any other questions, comments? Alderman Miller.
So you rarely hear me say no, but I think this is an opportunity for us to say we've spent our funds. We don't have unlimited source of additional funding, and the funding is done for this year. I don't know that it's going to stop anyone from doing the improvements. This is sort of as Andy just said, a nice way to recover some of the costs that you've already done. But we've gone through $100,000 in a blink. So I would probably lean to, we're done for this year, just as every other line item we have in that budget. Unless it's something extraordinary, we don't amend it. Just my thought.
Alderman Bassi.
I agree completely. $100,000 going through. I think the facade grant is a really good idea and should be continued. But again, when your $100,000 is done, that's it, and come back next year and we'll just keep going. I don't think there's a need to amend the dollar amount.
Alderman Santee.
Yes, I'll be the third one to agree. But then just kind of moving forward in the next year, do we put a hold on any applications that are in right now, and do we number those to be reviewed as of next year, or should we just say first come, first serve starting on this date?
Sorry. It kind of goes into and Doug can answer too, but it kind of goes on to one of the aldermen said, and that is that I think Alderwoman Miller, they're not going to wait. They're going to do the work anyway. So unless council is willing to consider work that was done 9 months in the past for a facade grant, then it's probably not worth telling them to reapply unless they're willing to wait until after May 1st to submit an application. I mean, we could certainly tell them, look, we're through our money this year and there's nothing else available. If you're willing to wait to do your facade and apply after May 1st of next year, then the funding will be replenished. And then they can make the choice on whether or not they just go ahead and do the work without the grant or that they hold off on it until next fiscal year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Alderman Cook, go ahead.
There's $6,000 left in the facade grant. Has anybody claimed that or put an application in for it? For the rest of the money?
Yes.
We have $28,000 in applications that people have submitted. So two entities have submitted for money. So we can tell them, sorry, there's nothing available. If you're willing to wait till May 1st, you can resubmit, or we'll hold on to your applications, or just we have nothing to give. We have nothing to give to you.
Okay, thanks.
Alderman Miller.
I think what we've learned in this program is that it's a good program, and people want to get a rebate grant if they could possibly have one. What I've learned is that the applications have been all over the board, even though we've had limitations, and we've restricted it twice during the process just to cut our costs. I think as a business owner, I just redid my whole building. I know what it cost me, and if I had a penny for every dollar I spent as a thank you, I'd be happy. So maybe when we revisit this grant program again next year, we set a different cap or different limitation. So if we said, just throwing it out there, $2,000 max, we could help 50 businesses improve their facade versus, how many have we done this year? 8 with $100,000. So I'd be open to opening that discussion on a different limitation structure to spread the wealth to more businesses, because we have a lot of people that are doing outside improvements. What we've already funded is spurring other people on to get it going.
And I second that. I think even if it was a quarter per dollar spent, something along those lines to where, so I think it's a bigger discussion for next year, but I agree with that. So, Alderman Cook?
This TIF money, where does that go? I mean, can't that be part of the
Mr.
facade?
It has to be used for public improvements. So generally like sidewalks or water mains or streetscape or river walk, it's typically, I think it's restricted to some public component. So you can't just give it to a business owner to say, all right, here's an incentive for you to upgrade your business. There needs to be some public component with that upgrade. That's where the TIF dollars go.
Not on
Thank you.
private property.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, on the TIF, however, what is reimbursable is all the payroll that goes on downtown. All the staff, time and whatnot, can be reimbursed by the TIF. I know that because of the fact that was discussed way back when we first started the TIF. And yes, it was stated the fact that is a reimbursable item, is as long as we can show that payroll was used for the economic development of the downtown area or the TIF area. So
I'd have to double check.
maybe
on
we
that.
need to look at it again and dig
I don't
into
believe
it.
that to be
But
true.
all I'm saying is that way we're not stifled to the fact that, well, we can't use it because the TIF money because of X, Y, or Z. So then we use it for something, we shift it, in other words, you just shift the dollars,
Yeah, well-
maybe, which opens up general
That doesn't
funds
sound
then,
right.
so,
We'll look into that.
all right.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you for
All right.
your input, yep.
Awesome, thank you. Staff reports. Do you have any?
Yeah, so all I have is, not as much a report, but a question. Mark Peterson from GovHR, would like to hold a place. He wanted to do it at the September 18th meeting, but Alderwoman Miller is not going to be here on September 18th. And my suggestion was to have a special meeting just for this, instead of tacking it on. The purpose would be closed session for personnel for the discussion regarding city administrator. And instead of tacking it on to a regular city council meeting, is to hold a special meeting just to discuss that. And so my suggestion is the following Monday, which is the 25th. Is everyone available on that night? And it can do it at a different time. It doesn't have to be 7 o'clock, as long as you're available for it. It could be 6 o'clock if you want it to be.
Can we get back to you?
Yes, you can get back to me.
So 9:25.
Yeah, the 25th, yep. You good, Andy?
Monday.
You're good on Mondays? Yeah. All right.
So
just.
I just have to check.
Okay, so Chris, you just shoot me a call or email or text or whatever and just let me know. Great, excellent. And then we'll let Mark know and Monty can get that scheduled. Okay, you're good too, thank you. So all I would see it would being is, Trish and Monty and the city council and David and Ann and Mark, Peterson. I'm not even gonna be a part of that meeting, so.
And then, Monty, if you could just notify McClatchy once that's set, right away.
Good.
Okay.
And what time do you wanna do? Regular meeting time?
I say 6.
Guys do 6?
Noon? No, I'm just
It'll
kidding.
be, Mark thinks it'll be a couple hours at least.
I would say 6.
6.
All right, so we will, once I hear from Alderwoman Bassey and we confirm with Alderman, McClatchy, we'll let council know right away so you can tattoo it on your schedule.
6 would be the appropriate.
All right, 6 o'clock, all right, okay. Yeah, we won't go earlier than that. That's all I have, thanks.
All right, city council comments?
Hang on, Treasurer Hobson hasn't given us.
Oh, go ahead, Bill. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Just a council reminder, Light the Night, will be on September 16th. Everything is planned to be open at that point, so that will also be our kickoff, our ribbon cutting for Miller Point Park. So 4 to 10 is the plan for that evening. We'll have food trucks, we'll have the craft vendors, the tiny shops will be open, we'll have live music, and then end the night with a small fireworks show. September 16th at Miller Point.
Thank you, Bill.
And then just as one other update for council, because I know it's been an item that's popped up, we did get the third quote for the Riverwalk electric improvements, both for the public improvements as well as the improvements to Mr. Arcos's in conjunction with him. So we'll be compiling those, going through them, and hopefully bringing those forward to you for a decision at an upcoming meeting. Hopefully the next meeting is the plan, and then we can get going on that so that we can start having a serious conversation about Phase 4 of the Riverwalk.
Awesome, thank you. Any other staff reports? All right, city council comments? Alderman Cook?
I'm sorry, I missed, with the lining of the pipes, you know, the repairs of the sewer pipes. Is there a 20-year plan. Is there a map of where it's gonna go after Riverside Drive? You know, as far as, I don't know, replacing or your mic? I'm sorry.
Sewer lines or water
Steve,
lines?
can you help with
The
that?
sewer lines,
the sewer
right,
line
we're
plan?
talking about?
I don't know what we're gonna do next year yet. I go through, as we televise, I go through reports, and I make a decision on what I feel is the most needed to be lined. Eventually we will have to line all the clay tile pipe in our town.
Okay, so, I mean, it's a 20-year plan, so I was just
That's
wondering,
to line all
we'll do this section, that section.
It's to line all the clay tile, but generally speaking, as we clean and televise it, I wanna get the worst stuff that's, you know, got bad cracks in it versus stuff that doesn't. So it's not necessarily we're gonna do this neighborhood or that neighborhood per se.
Okay, I thought it was like along the lines of painting the fire hydrant.
No, this one's different. It's more in a severity case.
All right, the worst comes first.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is that like the street program?
Any other city council? Alderman Miller?
I have a couple comments. First, I wanted to thank Monty and his crew for the newsletter. It was fabulous. I was surprised it was like 28 pages long, but it was fabulous in design. It was very eye-catching, and it just snapped. So thank you.
Who did it?
Did you want to comment?
Yeah, I don't get any of the thanks for that. It wasn't me at all. It was also Elizabeth Roth and Nicole Meyer are the design people. I have no artistic or design abilities at all. So I just gather information and I'm like, here, and they like doing that. It's a fun thing for them to do. And so I don't get any credit for that. It's for them.
Well,
So thank you. I'll pass it along to them.
It's a team effort, so you get to buy their lunch.
Okay.
Good lead.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Monty was able to coordinate with two assessors, the assessor from McHenry Township and Nunda Township, for their presentation here next Tuesday, 6:30, Monty? 6:30. So if you have anybody who has, in McHenry Township, I think just got their letters. If not, they're coming out because they were ready to publish. If you have anybody who wants to meet their assessor and go over that information, they will be here, and it won't be us, which is great. And a big kudos to Miller Point. If you haven't strolled down there, even with just a little bit of fencing done, there were a lot of people down there this weekend, just hanging out. I know Vic was down there, I was down there, Sean, you've been down there. It's just amazing. So thank you for the collaboration and the commitment to Miller Point. It is really going to be an outstanding showplace when we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Agreed. Alderman Cook?
I'd like to comment to Mr. Copson there for having garbage cans and picnic tables out there, because over the weekend, a lot of people were using the West Beach and East Beach. Whether they were swimming or not, I did not know, but there was out there picnicking and everything else I had, so those picnic tables came in handy, and I'm sure the trash barrels came in handy too. So I know we're working on the playground stuff, and we're working on the piers, getting them out there and stuff. So I just wanna commend you on that, because I saw a lot of people out there, and I'm glad they're using the lake, because that is,
Yeah, East Beach is a popular place.
yes, it is, and I thank you for that.
Any other city council comments? Trish, go ahead.
I just want to say I took a boat ride with my best friend, who's my dad. And we went over by Dees Marine, we parked over on the pier, and then we went for a walk, and we had a drink over at the little bar, and it was really, really pretty. And so I just want to commend you, it looks beautiful, and that's like the most time I've spent down there, so I just want to let you know it looks great.
Thanks, Trish. Alderman Glenn?
Yeah, I just want to mention, considering you guys brought up the executive session meeting, the fact that, we have a policy of what we created as far as how we were going to handle and maybe that needs to come forward and be reevaluated and rewritten, because we're not following it according to the policy.
So that's the discussion, is the policy and so forth, so that's
So,
what we're gonna be discussing
okay.
on the 25th.
Okay.
Yep.
The other things, I've already talked to the chief, and he's assured me that things are going to be, he's going to get a bulletin out, online, as far as the city online. There's been a lot of abuse of golf carts and everything. I'm finding people sitting on the back end of these without any seat belts on, hanging over. I've seen some vehicles with licenses and some without, some with the triangle and some without the triangle. If they don't have a license, then they probably shouldn't be even on the road, and they probably haven't been inspected or anything else. And just, again, not a complaint as much as I know the chief will take care of this, but just so that the awareness of the council. Also, that's something that has been growing and growing a lot more is, and you probably all see them, is as far as the motorized bicycles that we have in town. They're illegal. I mean, they're not supposed to have motorized vehicles out on the street, on public streets. They're not licensed, and they're definitely not safe. I'm sorry, I still have a few, but go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish that. I just wanted Wayne to see my finger again.
Oh, okay. I wanted to bring up the horse barn again, and the fact that I still think we need to have that meeting. It's all well and good that the tenants have taken and opened up their doors at certain times for the public. However, there's still a lot more opportunity, I think, that the city could have. And that doesn't mean that, they came in here because of the comments I made, I'm sure, and they feel like we're shoving them out. By no means. I think we need their expertise over there, but I think we need to have a broad look at what can be done out there and incorporate it with them as well, and maybe we could see a lot more activities than what we have, and maybe even look at down the road investing more money into the barn to fix it up even nicer for different things. But again, that's where our discussions would go, and that's why I feel that we need to have that discussion. Again, like I said, but we do need people with expertise like that to be incorporated in, just like what they are right now. But as far as bringing the public in, I think to some extent, I think we need to have a little bit of more control on bringing the public into our facilities, rather than just have a tenant bring in different events or whatever. And I will pass it along to Alderwoman Miller. She had something she wanted to bring up.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up the bike thing. So Chief Burke, do we have like something about bikes? I see them going up and down the middle of 31, the motorized bikes. These people are going to get killed.
Referring to bicycles that are electric assisted, is that what we're referring to?
Yes.
They have a legal right to be on the road. There are some restrictions. There's 3 different classifications. We do not have a local ordinance on the books that restricts those. You do have to be, You do have to be 16 years of age to ride them on the roadway, so that is one restriction that the state has under state statute. but without diving in too much deeper than that, I wouldn't be able to give you any more comment on it than that. We see them all over the place.
Are they supposed to be in the lane of traffic, or are they supposed?
Bicycles should technically be following the flow of traffic in the right-hand side lane of traffic. They shouldn't be on sidewalks. We actually have an ordinance against bicycles on sidewalks.
So are they considered a vehicle,
They
like,
have a right-of-way in the roadway that's shared with vehicles by statute.
but they should not be riding down the middle of 31?
No, unless they're trying to make a left-hand turn, they have a right to pull out. If there's a turn lane, they do have that right. Absolutely. And cars should yield to them.
I'm getting an
I
electric
wouldn't
bike.
recommend it. I don't think it's the safest
Right.
manner, but
And
they do have that
I
right.
just think they're moving targets, but, you know, that's just my attitude. Do we police them? Do we pull them over and give them tickets, or how
I
do?
can't remember the last time somebody's been cited
Right.
because, again, riding them on the roadway is not illegal.
So,
So you
as
have to-
Andy said that a few minutes ago, I was coming up 31 today from Crystal Lake to get here. One of those, electric bikes, was going faster than I was going.
So those are some of the restrictions. So you have like 3 different classifications of the electric bikes. You have the ones that are solely electric, then you have the ones that are assisted with you pedal, and there's 75, the state statute breaks it all down. It's like 75 watts is the maximum, and don't quote me on this because I'm not the bicycle expert by any means.
I'm writing it down.
And 20 miles an hour is the maximum speed limit for them if you are allowing them to self-propel themselves. And then 28 miles an hour is the maximum speed by state statute if you are allowed to pedal and let the electric help you.
The one that was going faster has the monster. That's the one I want.
He had these really big tires, and he was.
They ride along the side in the same lane of traffic. This is a state statute. This is not a local statute. I just looked some of it up as soon as you guys started talking about it, so I could be a little bit rehearsed in case somebody had a question.
If we're looking at 35 to 40 mile an hour speed limits, and you know everybody's doing 35 to 40 miles an hour, and they're doing more than 28 miles an hour, and they're actually holding back traffic.
Well, that would be a different issue. If they were truly holding back traffic, then they could be stopped and they could be educated and potentially cited if they were a hazard. But that would be under a different statute. That wouldn't be under a bicycle law.
Would we be able to license all those type of vehicles in the city of McHenry?
That would be a daunting task.
No?
I don't know where would the expectation be. So
Or
I
at least on
live
our
in Crystal Lake
residential
and I get on the
streets.
bike path and I take my electric bike and then from there I get on Bull Valley Road and I don't check the local ordinances in McHenry and then I get stopped and written.
No other municipalities have
Yeah.
that, right?
Not that I'm aware of. I'd be more than happy to have somebody look into it and provide you guys an email with an update if there's anybody else that has restrictions on them.
I just look at the safety issue more than anything else. Kids out there, 16 years old, riding one of those things and he gets crippled up. Well, it's too late to say you're sorry, But then you also have to look at the person that was driving and maybe for no reason or whatever other than the fact that the kid might have jumped out in front of him or whatever, that they have to live with it too. So, it's kind of a lose-lose type situation there. So, I'll leave that for anybody else, any more discussion before I bring anything else up.
You have something else?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, let's go. You have the floor.
Okay. Well, we had the discussion before. You mentioned the large mounds of dirt you've seen over there at District 156.
Yep.
They are putting in new ball fields. They never came to council to expand their conditional use. Schools are in a residential zoning with a conditional use, and if they want to expand on them, they have to come to council. They have not. I don't really have a problem with putting the ball fields in there, but, my constituents ask me, well, what's going on over there? And it's like, well, they're putting in ball fields. What kind of ball fields are they putting in? Lights? I had to find out from Ross that no, there's no plans to put in lights. But all I'm getting at is I think the council needs to be aware of projects like that, of what's going on in our community. And if nothing else, at least maybe we could be sent the plans or whatever at this stage. I mean, they're 2/3 of the way done. So, I mean, we're not going to pound them now. But I think we need to look at that for the future, the fact that, for 2 ball fields, maybe it isn't so bad, but the next time around, what's it gonna be? You know, and, you don't wanna set a precedence to the fact that we're just ignoring conditional use, expansions. The other thing is years back, we had discussions on the drainage ditch, behind 156. And there was an agreement that was signed, to where they would maintain, the vegetation and everything else there to keep it from blocking.